Somebody help my girl. Is there a doctor here? The scream echoed through the high school reunion, and it was from my first love. I'm a doctor. As I stepped forward, I saw a girl, likely her daughter, collapsed and trembling. I used to be a neurosurgeon once called the God Hand, but for certain reasons, I had quit being a doctor. She's burning up. Let's get her clothes off. Oh, can I get that apple juice over there? I had always thought of her as just a classmate and my first crush, but I had no idea then how fate had already tied us together. My name is Kevin, 32 years old. I'm a former neurosurgeon. Back in America, I had a bit of a name as the God Hand, but now I'm unemployed, no longer practicing medicine. The reason I crossed the ocean was to study under a renowned Japanese doctor and work in America, the same country as him. That mentor, Dr. Turner, was truly worthy of being called the God Hand. He was incredible. Patients from all over the world sought his expertise and traveled far just to be operated on by him. And he would go wherever he needed to, flying across the globe to answer those calls for help. I first wanted to become his student after witnessing one of his surgeries in Japan. It was right after I finished my residency. He was performing surgery at the hospital I'd just been assigned to as a full-fledged doctor. The patient had been deemed untreatable at every hospital in Japan. But as a last hope, they reached out to Dr. Turner, and somehow he agreed to perform the surgery. He adjusted his schedule and would come to Japan a few times a year to operate. I hadn't yet decided on neurosurgery, but I was interested enough to observe. And what I saw was nothing short of a miracle. The last glimmer of hope for a patient abandoned by every hospital. Dr. Turner took that thread and wove it into life again. When the surgery ended, the observing doctors erupted in applause. Some were in tears, and of course I was one of them. Right after, I asked to be his student, but he didn't give me a clear answer. He had a principle that he'd teach his techniques to young doctors, but never take on a single, dedicated apprentice. If you want to learn my skills, you can join my workshops in Japan. No need to come all the way to America. Even if you do, I'll turn you away. That was his initial response. But I kept reaching out even after he returned to America, showing him how serious I was. Every time I heard of a workshop, I flew anywhere in the world to attend. People think doctors make a lot, but I had just finished my residency. Plus, I still had some student loans from medical school. Scraping together travel money from my low salary, I did all I could, though I couldn't attend every session. Seeing me go so far, even cutting down on food expenses, Dr. Turner finally gave in. I guess if I don't say yes, you might just die trying. No one's ever gone this far. You win. Become my student. Thank you so much. And so, I moved to America and became Dr. Turner's apprentice. Days with my mentor were filled with happiness. Every day was an eye-opener, and I was constantly amazed by his brilliance. Like rain soaking into dry desert, I absorbed his knowledge and skills. Kevin, I've got to hand it to you. You've really fallen in love with my techniques, and I'm proud you've mastered them. I'm the lucky one. I'm so grateful I met you. I'm going to steal every bit of your skill. You're getting cocky now, he said with a smile, but he was clearly pleased, and he taught me everything. Eventually, I was known as Dr. Turner's apprentice, the second God Hand. Then, it happened. My mentor fell ill. A brain tumor, glioma. It was one of the most aggressive and malignant types. And it's in a bad spot. Even I wouldn't attempt this surgery. He showed me his CT scan and laughed as he said it. Let me do the surgery. I wanted to save him no matter what. Don't. I'm not saying this because I value my own life. If you fail and blame yourself, quit medicine because of it, then what was the point of me training you? He tried to convince me, but in the end, he agreed to the operation. On one condition, no matter the outcome, you won't quit medicine. Promise me that. I understand. I promise. And I succeeded. People called it a miracle. I removed all the bad cells from his brain. He regained consciousness. Did it work? He asked, his voice hoarse. Yes, it was a success. I see, he said, smiling with satisfaction. Then he closed his eyes and never woke again. He was 70 years old. His body just couldn't handle the strain. His daughter, Melissa, told me it wasn't my fault, but I couldn't forgive myself. If I hadn't done the surgery, maybe he could have lived a little longer. Judging by the progression, he could have had another 3 good months. That thought tortured me. It's my fault. I shortened his life. Everyone tried to tell me otherwise, but their words couldn't change how I felt. Unable to bear it, I left America and fled back to Japan. Back home, I returned to my parents' house. I'd only visited once a year, if that, since leaving for college. Even so, they welcomed me without question and told me to take it easy. Thanks to working with my mentor, I'd paid off my student loans and saved a decent amount. I figured it was okay to take a break. So what now? I met my mentor when I was 26, fresh out of residency. Ever since, I'd spent every day honing my skills. Now I was 33. Those 7 years felt like a dream. I spent my time at home doing nothing. Or rather, I had no energy to do anything else. That's when an invitation to a high school reunion arrived at my parents' house. I hadn't been back to my high school since graduation. Guess I'll go. I only decided to go on a total whim. It wasn't that I particularly wanted to go, but I also didn't have a good reason not to. That's all it took to make me show up. The reunion was held in a banquet hall at a hotel. About 40 people showed up, and I wasn't sure if that was a lot or a little for a high school reunion in our 30s. I didn't really know, but that's roughly how big the gathering was. I checked in and found my seat in the well-air-conditioned room. It was a hot day, and everyone was sweating as they came in. Then, after a few people had entered, I saw someone who made my heart skip a beat. Samantha! She was my first love. We were in the same class our freshman year, and I fell for her at first sight. In an instant, the memories came flooding back. Her dazzling smile was so beautiful that it could light up the whole room. But I was too shy to confess my feelings, and before I knew it, she had a boyfriend. It broke my heart, but the two of them looked so perfect together that I could only silently wish them well. While I was lost in thought, watching her from afar, I noticed a little girl standing next to her. She was probably her daughter. She got married, huh? Yeah, of course she did. I understood, but still felt a little pang of sadness. Samantha greeted some old classmates near the entrance and started chatting with them while standing. Wait, that girl is. But my eyes were drawn to the girl who seemed to be Samantha's daughter. She seemed to be breathing oddly, like she was struggling. It was hard to see clearly since she was partly hidden behind Samantha and standing a bit away, but something felt off. I wanted to say something, but was it really okay for me to step in out of nowhere? After all, we were only classmates during freshman year, and we hadn't even talked all that much. As I debated what to do, the little girl suddenly collapsed, and Samantha let out a panicked cry. Mia, what's wrong? Somebody, please help her. Is there a doctor here? As Samantha said that, she collapsed to the ground right after, as if following her daughter. Samantha didn't look well either. Excuse me, I'm a doctor. I rushed over to check on the girl, Mia. That's what she was called. She seemed to be having mild seizures. I could tell right away what was happening. She's burning up. I need to undress her. Excuse me. I opened her clothes and assessed her condition. Water and ice now. Right away. A hotel staff member quickly brought what I asked for. It was a party venue, so getting those things wasn't hard. I took them and started cooling Mia's body as fast as I could. It's heat stroke. Heat stroke? But we weren't even outside for that long. Kids are different from adults. They're closer to the hot ground, so they feel the heat as if it's 10 degrees hotter. She needed fluids too, but they should be something better than plain water. Oh, can I have that apple juice? And some water too. Samantha, mix the juice with water about half strength. Okay. Samantha poured the juice into an empty glass and diluted it with water. Here, this way. Got it. I held the glass to Mia's lips as her seizures began to subside. Drink slowly. It was a makeshift oral rehydration drink. Mia sipped it little by little. All right, she's stabilizing, but she still needs IV fluids, so please call an ambulance. Luckily, the hotel staff had already done so, and the ambulance arrived quickly. If it's not too much trouble, could you come with us? Samantha looked at me with a worried expression as she asked. And seeing that look on her face, how could anyone possibly say no? Of course, I replied and went with them. After getting IV fluids at the hospital, Mia quickly regained her energy. The doctor acted so fast that there's barely any lasting effect. Thank you so much, Kevin. Samantha smiled and said my name, and I was stunned. Wait, you remember me? You're Kevin, right? We were in the same class freshman year? Yeah, that's me. I just didn't think you'd remember. I scratched my head awkwardly, and Samantha chuckled softly. I feel like we talked quite a bit. You were close with Thomas too, weren't you? That's right. I'd been classmates with her boyfriend Thomas all 3 years of high school. Even though Samantha and I only shared 1 year, I'd spent all of high school in the same class as Thomas. I remembered watching her visit him in my classroom, and it always stung. Sometimes Thomas and I would wonder what you were up to, you know. He said you went to a university far away after graduation, and then we lost touch. That was true. I'd intentionally distanced myself. I didn't want to get closer to Samantha's boyfriend. What happened with Thomas after that? We got married. Of course, it felt like I was going through heartbreak all over again. Is Thomas here today? Samantha looked slightly troubled. But then she said something that truly shocked me. He passed away when Mia was 2. Are you living with your parents now with Mia? No, my parents passed away before I even got married. I was speechless. Back in high school, Samantha had seemed like a well-off girl from a good family. She was smart, athletic, beautiful, and popular. Still stunning now, but I'd never imagined she'd been through so much. She told me she had gone to a local university after high school, but during her university years, her parents died in an accident. Thomas stayed by her side through it all, and they got married right after graduation. We had planned to wait until we were more stable before having kids, but we figured it was time, and then I got pregnant with Mia. But that's when Thomas was diagnosed. What was it? A brain tumor. They called it a glioma, one of the most malignant types. The way Thomas had a seizure, it reminded me so much of Mia today. I panicked. I was speechless. It turns out both Samantha and I lost someone precious to the same disease. Gliomas can cause seizures in their later stages. No wonder she was so terrified. Was he able to get surgery? Every hospital turned us down. They said there was nothing they could do. Out of desperation, I wrote to a famous American doctor. Something about that sounded familiar. I listened, almost holding my breath. I saw him on TV, Dr. Turner, the world-renowned neurosurgeon. As I suspected, the famous doctor she wrote to had been my mentor. But I'd followed Dr. Turner closely as his apprentice, and I had a good grasp of the surgeries he performed. I'd never heard the name Thomas before. So what happened then? I received the kindest letter in response. He said, judging from the symptoms, he probably couldn't perform the surgery himself, but he also said there was still hope. She told me what the letter had said. Unfortunately, I don't believe I can perform the surgery at this time. However, this appears to be a slower progressing form of glioma. If the chemo can slow the tumor's growth even a little, there is still hope. I have a very skilled apprentice, so if anyone can do the surgery, it's him. Tell your husband to hang in there as long as he can. It won't be long before I send my apprentice to Japan. I was speechless. After reading that letter, Thomas said, "All right, I'll fight. I'll do everything I can," and he really did. The treatment seemed to be working, and it looked like the tumor had stopped growing. Then, why? There was an accident. The same one that took my parents. Just when hope had started to appear, fate took it all away. I remembered something my mentor said. When I suggested the surgery, he told me this: "Kevin, we are not gods. No matter how perfect the surgery, we cannot change a person's lifespan. So if you're willing to accept that this is simply my fate, and then I can consider it." I was so happy when he finally agreed to the surgery. I understand, but I promise you, I'll make it a success. And then you'll live even longer. That will be your fate. The surgery had been a success, but my mentor passed away afterward. Thomas, too, had fought with hope, but in the end, lost his life in an accident. What even is fate? Samantha looked at me, puzzled. It was me. What? I'm the apprentice Dr. Turner mentioned. The one who he said would one day be able to operate on Thomas. That was me. Stunned, Samantha listened as I told her everything. So if Thomas hadn't had that accident and had just held on a little longer, I might have come to Japan and operated on him myself. That's unbelievable. What a strange twist of fate. If I'd operated on Thomas and succeeded, Samantha might still be living a happy life with him. Mia might have grown up knowing her father. We didn't say anything more after that. Could I get your contact information? Maybe I can help you somehow. Or maybe, someday, I'll need someone to talk to too. So we exchanged contact information and went our separate ways. After that, we stayed in touch through a messaging app. I kept checking in on Mia and Samantha. She told me that after losing Thomas, she raised Mia on her own, working full-time, with no relatives to rely on. Thomas's parents lived with his younger brother's family now. I was never very close with my in-laws. Nothing dramatic, just never clicked. But after Thomas passed, that gap became permanent. Samantha clearly had her pride. Though she kept them updated on Mia, she never relied on them for anything. Meanwhile, I got a message from Melissa, my mentor's daughter. I'll be in Japan for work soon. Let's talk. Melissa was a teacher in America. She'd raised her daughter alone and was now living with a new partner. To me, she felt like a mother figure in America. My father used to say something. I want you to hear it. When she arrived, she told me something I never expected. My father said that once he was gone, you'd probably run from the operating room. Why would he say that? But he also said that was okay. Melissa shared her father's thoughts. Just as he told me before, lifespan is out of our control, and doctors are not gods. He'd also told her, Kevin will lose me and face the harshness of reality. He won't be able to take it. He'll run, but I believe he'll come back. So Melissa, when he does, be there to help him. Dr. Turner, I could never measure up to him. By the way, he once told me this too. You've already surpassed me in skill, but don't get cocky. It's not that you're better than me. It's just that I've slowed down. No way, you were still at your peak. Think about it. You've just turned 30. A neurosurgeon hits their prime in their 40s when experience and stamina peak. You're climbing up. I'm on the way down. You do the math. He was right, but I didn't want to accept it. I wanted him to always walk ahead of me. I wanted him to be my mentor forever. All in all, you might be the better surgeon now, and you'll only get better. So don't ever quit. Keep saving people. That's why you became my apprentice, isn't it? And even after all that, I still ran. Just like he predicted. Melissa smiled gently. The hospital said they're ready whenever you are. Your resignation was never processed, and your mentor asked them to treat it as a leave of absence. Dr. Turner, so go back. Be a neurosurgeon again. My father's time was up, and he accepted that. You're not a god. Just do everything you can as a human. Her words gave me the courage to return to America. But one thing still held me back. Until I dealt with that, I couldn't leave. I contacted Samantha. So, you're going back to America? Yes, I've decided to do everything I can. And I want to help people like you and Mia, people going through pain and loneliness. That's admirable. She smiled, but she looked a little sad. Samantha, I finally gathered the courage. Will you come with me to America? What? Will you be with me with the hope of marriage? I'd finally said it. The words I couldn't say back in freshman year, I finally said them. Samantha was too surprised to speak. You were my first love. I fell for you at first sight in my freshman year, and I never stopped. But you had Thomas, and I never said a word. I had no idea. I never wished Thomas were gone, but I do believe I could treasure you and everything you shared with him for the rest of our lives. I couldn't believe what I was saying. We'd met several times since, and I'd grown close with Mia too. Not just because she was Samantha's daughter, I genuinely cared for her. This is really sudden. Yeah, I'm sorry. I laughed awkwardly and scratched my head. I know it's sudden, but I couldn't go back to America without telling you how I truly feel. Fate is unpredictable. Samantha and I both know that all too well. It might sound strange, but it's because of everything that's happened that I was finally able to say this. Maybe it's selfish. Maybe it's too much. But I'm glad I said it. I smiled from the heart. This is enough for me. Even if I was rejected a third time, I wouldn't regret it. And I think about it? Did Samantha just say she wanted to think about it? I was honestly expecting a gentle, "I'm sorry," so I was completely caught off guard. You're funny. After saying all that, why do you look so surprised? Samantha said that and let out a soft giggle. To be honest, since becoming a widow, this isn't the first time someone's asked me to date or marry them. That made sense because she was absolutely stunning. I couldn't help but feel annoyed at those faceless people from her past. But you're the only one who said you cherished Thomas too. That meant so much to me. Tears welled up in her eyes. She really was happy, I could see that. And yet, I couldn't help but feel a little jealous of Thomas. Plus, Mia really likes you, Kevin. So, I can't give you an answer right away, but would you let me think about it? I want to seriously consider whether I could live in America. Of course. That was enough for me. I didn't know what the future held, but I'd wait for that day with hope. As a doctor, I want to heal and bring joy to people who are suffering. And as a human and a man, I want to bring happiness to Samantha and Mia. No, that's not quite right. I want to be with them because they make me happy too. I'll wait, for as long as it takes. At my words, Samantha blushed slightly and nodded.